Right now we are designing Jatra and we are starting with our presentation. So we basically working in the tribal region, and you know what is this? What is this displayed on your screen right now, which is Warli painting, and the name of this particular painting is a house. So if you see over here, the this particular part is just a house. These and but whenever you tell a tribal person, a Warli person, to draw a Warli painting of a house, they usually draw everything where their farms are there, part of the house. Their sun is also a part of the house. The clouds, the river, the animals over here, whatever the activities they are doing in their farm, the trees. So they have a very bigger perspective towards house, and that's why whenever you tell them to draw a house, they usually draw this whole context. So it was very difficult for us initially to understand this particular concept, but after that we started understanding. We also try to look at our projects with the contextual perspective, where the context matters a lot. So for example, look at this particular image. So the central part, which is a white open, is our site. But when we start our research, the whole surrounding is a our building is actually impacting on that whole surrounding. So the entire part is also very important. Sorry. So if you see there, there are houses. There is an old house in the context, okay, from which we took the inspiration for our site. There are fields. There is a mountain nearby. Okay. After that, there is a small forest and sacred groves nearby. There is a temple. There is one small stream which is flowing behind the site, and it's going to the river. So all these things are does matter when you actually designing any kind of your project, because this is something which we learn from that Warli painting, because house is always has an impact. So we are starting.
You guys have attended. Hello, hello, hello.
Yeah, Sharad.
Hello.
Ha.
Yes, Shadul, we can hear you. Follow.
Okay, okay. So, you guys have attended our talk before, right? So, whenever we decide to build anything, it's basically, like he said, more about the context, more about what happens in the context, all the systems of the place, basically. So, whenever a tribal designs, so no, so I was saying that whenever a tribal designs anything, it is not the act of design that is important, but it is the act of dealing with all these elements that are there around the place, which is very interesting and inspiring as a process. So uh, it's not formally taught in college. We are taught to deal with climate, we are taught to deal with say sociology sometimes, but what about dealing with, say, a snake which crosses your site every day, or a sparrow which nestles on your site every day? What about that? What about, say, a tribal person who's crossing your site to reach his farm or her farm? So all these things are taken into consideration when a tribal designs their homes, and all these become the stakeholders of the project, and that is what that image also what Pratik showed. Pratik, can you go back to the Warli painting image? For
Yes.
me,
Yeah.
Warli painting wala.
Yeah, Warli
हाँ.
painting परत गेलोय.
So so all these factors, basically, the workshop that is there, the goats, the cows, everything are stakeholders in that small house that the tribal has designed. So it's like when you take care of your house, we generally look at taking care of the 250s or whatever 1,000 square feet that we own. But when a tribal takes care of his home, it's about taking care of all the elements that are there in the context, all the stakeholders. So hence it's a very environmental, or it's a very sustainable, the so-called sustainable thought process that we as architects lack in our. uh, the project that we'll be showing here, I think that project has never been discussed in the college. um, so this projects, actually we came in, I think 7 years after the whole project began. The organization which was dealing with the project was um with the village and with the community for the first 7 years, basically sensitizing them, understanding their movement patterns, understanding their usage patterns, understanding how such a project would impact their life. And uh, and then at the pinnacle of development of that project, we came into the picture, wherein we had to design for them. We made an image for our site, um, chalking down all the stakeholders that were there in the surrounding. Okay, so there is a, like he said, there's sacred groves, there are fields, there are rivers, streams, bio animals. What we've missed out is the animals in the streams and the animals in the farm itself. The brick kiln that was nearby, the village that was nearby, etc. So, Pratik, next slide. Hekar.
So,
Pratik, you should talk.
yeah. So, we are explaining this particular project, which is very close to our heart. If you see this particular image, there is a small stream and a lot of trees, and behind there is a forest over here. So basically, this project is started around 7 years back by organization called Vayam. Vayam is a organization which works for a tribal rights, and they educate tribal people about their rights. For example, this Forest Right Act, where you can claim that the forest is belong to you, because initially the forest is belong to the government. And after that, many people, there is one village, they took initiative and they told government that you give that particular forest to us, because we are maintaining that forest for so many years, and we have complete rights over it, so that we can take the produce out of it, and we will also take care of this particular forest. And because of that, there one this particular act came into the picture, which is called Forest Right Act. And Vayam organization helped this particular village to get that forest rights. And how they started this particular activity, that the first thing is the meeting with the villagers. So in this particular image, you can see the villagers made the map of the entire village, and they show it to the government people, okay, the forester officer and the prant office, or all these people, the BDO and all. And they explain that what are the resources are there in the forest, and how they are taking care of these resources. And also that how much area they are claiming as the forest which is belong to them. And through in this particular meeting, there is a lot of brainstorming session happens with the government as well as the villagers. And it is the when they get that particular forest right, when they got this particular forest right, the first thing which they started is to claim, they started intervene in the forest. For example, you see there is a one very small check dam which is built by villagers. So it is like protecting their resource or getting back their resource. So the water is always the first resource, because it is essential for the forest to regrow. And they started with the building this bund, so they will percolate a lot of water into the ground, and it will go for the forest. The another thing is to take care of the forest, like identifying what kind of resources we have and what are the endangered species in the forest. And they started planting those species. And over here also, the village actively involved in the whole process. And with this particular act, they started regrowing their forest, which is the forest was initially very degraded forest, but in the monsoon they started planting those trees. After that, understanding your forest, what kind of produce you can actually get out of this particular forest. So in over here, the villagers are looking at the kind of a produce they got from the forest, and they are analyzing it. And also there is a small meeting happened along with the villagers, where they collected all the forest produce to understand the value of it. And this is the amazing thing which happened in that particular village, because you see whatever the this is a one thali with a lot of bhaji in it, and one roti. uh, this particular this all the bhaji which you see in this particular picture are from the forest. This is a forest food. So this particular village started conducting forest food festival for the city people, urban people. And the urban people used to come over there, and they used to taste those forest food. And there is a very nice interaction used to happen between the urban people and the villagers. And through that, there is a lot of confidence building which happened through this forest food festivals. And after that, there is a lot humongous amount of realization about their own forest, and what are the produce they are getting out of this particular forest. Now, after this particular process, they started getting a lot of things like honey, rak, dinka. Then a lot of there is a lot of oil seeds were there. And people become kind of sustainable, but the young generation has mobile in their hand, and they have to do recharge. So there is a need of certain amount, okay, some money. And how to get that money? By protecting the forest. So Vayam came up with the idea that we should build a forest food processing center. And through that, basically the surplus of the this forest food, they can sell it to the urban people, and they can uh, get money out of it. And
No,
because of
before that also, matlab, before they decided to monetize the whole activity, the whole community they sensitized in terms of rules and restrictions that
yeah,
were there for the community itself. For example, they per family consumption of forest food, per family consumption of say a fruit, say mahua, per family consumption of flower, say a per family consumption of say biodiversity like crabs. They decided that ki if a family is between 4 to 5 people, then you should have this much of forest food every day, this much of this much of that, this much of this, and should not exceed that. Whatever is left beyond that, uska bhi one hissa goes to keeping it in the nature, and the other is what they decide to sell to the outside world. So when that selling aspect came into picture, that is when we entered the whole picture. So Vyom had already done 7 years of groundwork over there of sensitization, of making them understand the importance of natural building, making them understand the importance of all these sustainable lifestyle limits. And we were the ones who were supposed to culminate all of this into a building, basically. So, so this particular house that is there on the slide right now is a house which is just next to the Forest Food Processing Center, and it is a house which we derived inspiration from. I Pratik, you continue.
yeah. So in this particular house, you can see there are brick piers, and in between there are bamboo walls which are cladded with cow dung. This was a very good inspiration for us, because we understood what kind of local technology the villagers are comfortable with. And then our research started with those particular technologies. And we had a lot of brainstorming session with the villagers, where and we come up with this particular module. Now, in this particular module, it is not completely designed by an architect, but the architect just gather the information from the villagers, that what kind of spaces they want for their forest food processing center. And we just came up with a plan and a module for their ideas. So this particular module is discussed. With the villagers. And we show this particular presentation to the villagers, and it was approved. After that, the thing we started is a construction. Now whatever material you are seeing on the site, it's only we got all this material from the 2 kilometers of the radius. Now, because we are focusing mainly on the locally available materials, the transportation cost, which is usually a plays a very important role, and it's huge, which got reduced. So this stone which we got from the a stream which I showed in the first photo, and whatever the mud for the construction we got from this particular excavation, and the construction started. So we sourced these locally available bricks. Now what is our role came over here, that how we can make this particular forest food processing center aesthetically good as well as climatically responsive. So we
And
introduced
cost
this,
effective.
and cost effective as well. So we introduce these kind of a jalis in this particular structure, because we eliminate all the windows from this structure. So it's also there is a huge reduction of cost which happened. And also we source the locally available sorry, local masons. So they are from the village, and that's why it was very easy for them also to be in the village and work on this particular project. The sweat equity is also very important aspect, because most of the
Shramadan.
villagers who are not, which is called Shramadan. So the people who are not comfortable, or maybe the people who doesn't have a skill to build the structures, they came for the unskilled thing. So for example, making the floor, you don't require that good skill for that, and many people have contributed for making the floor, and the floor is made up of a mud and cow dung, which is a very local for them, or maybe it's very easy for them, because their floors are, they are maintaining their floors for so many years. So it was very easy.
So basically, sweat equity or Shramadan is a concept which is very prevalent in this whole region. Actually, in all tribal regions or all rural regions of the country, where you so for example, there is a village and I am a part of that village and I want to construct a house. Um, I will get labor for either for free or for really low rates uh, from the villagers in the village. Uh, in a return, that whenever one of the villagers builds their homes, I have to go as free labor to work for them. This is like Shramadhan. It's a gift economic system. So basically, a lot of these exchanges happen on sites when you are working in the rural context, and they are almost magical in a world where everything is so monetized, everything is so capitalized. We had almost for all the unskilled work, like ramming of the floor, excavation, plastering, weaving metal and daub, etc. All these things the villagers gathered, even for gathering of bamboo, all of them gathered, helped us whatever, and without any cost. So that is sweat equity or Shramadan. Or
So
you
after
should
that,
go for the next.
yeah. So in this particular slide, you can see there is a lot of mud is also on their cheek. So what happened? Ki this particular mud we got from the forest, and usually they also use this particular mud for a bathing, and it's so healthy that when you apply that particular mud, it actually very good for your skin. And that's why while doing this particular plaster, they also celebrate that this ritual is there. Whenever the plaster is complete, the whatever left or mud, they just play holy with it. And they go together, and after that, everybody, all the people who plastered it, they go together on the river to take a bath. So this is also very nice ritual which happens while doing this particular process. Now imagine if we are doing it with the synthetic material, and this whole ritual you cannot perform. And that's why understanding their material is also one of the beauty of this particular project, where we try to engage lot many materials which are very they are, which they are, which material are very close to them. So now after that also we took a lot of workshops to paint this particular center. So you see there is a white painting also, some design design patterns are happened on the walls. So a lot of architectural students who came there, and they helped this community to paint this particular forest food processing center.
And it
And
is a very interesting process where students and architecture students and the community together are working towards. So whenever there were times where the sweat equity part would come or the Shramadan part would come, like plaster, a lot of these architecture students would also go there to give their Shramadan. And people would gather, people would participate. There was exchange of knowledge, culture, information, etc. And we got this done. So in this image, if you see the walls that are dark brown in color, they are made by architecture students, and the white walls are painted detailed by the architecture students as well. And we also did the cow dung floor of the central court and stuff like that. So this is one of the structures which we had to go with a tin sheet roof, though the village and us both and Vayam, all three stakeholders in the project did not want the tin sheet roof. But then, if you see on top of the tin sheet roof, there are solar panels. So very few solar agencies now give solar panels on mangrove tile roof. They do exist, but when we were doing this, the agency that gave us the solar panels did not have the expertise to install them on mangrove tiles. So that is why the tin sheet roof is there. But again, the like he said, the tin sheet roof also, the idea was to use recycled ones. So we've basically taken the recycled tin sheet and used it for the roof.
yeah. So right now, this is the overall view of this particular thing where you see these wattle and daub walls, which has a design pattern. So basically, wattle and daub walls we learned from the villagers, and we just made an improvisation in that wattle and daub wall, and we got this pattern on the wall. So it's basically it's a two-way process where both of the parties are involved, villagers and as well as the architectural students, and this is the amalgamation of this particular two people's ideas. And now this is how it is functioning, that they started storing a lot of forest food in their center. They started making all this patrawai, so machinery is already there. Also, because of the cow dung floor, the vibration of the machinery is easily taken care of.
Absorbed.
So all this it is absorbed. So all these good things are happening right now. And usually if you see this particular cartoon is done by Livardist, and where he actually explained it very well, that how the cultural, ecological and economical aspects are playing role in this particular forest food processing center, because we source locally available mud. Then for the electricity, it's a renewable energy source like a solar panel. Also, the concrete is used minimal just for as a earthquake bands. Then there are wattle and daub walls which are also act as a partition wall. The material which we got from the for the this particular construction is from the only 2 kilometer of radius. So all these things are very vital part, even though the maybe product is not that good looking or aesthetically pleasing, but it is impacted on all these levels. So that's why somehow we feel really good about this particular project. And where the role comes into the picture, like architects. So uh, now also this is a extremely cheaply made structure. For example, it is a 1200 square feet forest food processing center, but we build it in the cost of 3 lakh 7,000 rupees. So also where the fees parts come into the picture, we also told, because the community is not rich with the monetary, the money wise, but they are very rich with the resource. So we also had a deal with the community that they can pay our fees in terms of forest produce rather than giving us the money. In this also, if you see that the architect is actually involved, and there is a forest. There are produce of the forest produce, and that forest produce is coming back to us. So we also think about this alternative economic cycle while working with these particular projects. Shardul.
Yeah, you should go
Yeah.
to the
So
next slide. I think.
this is our next project. Over here, you can see on the screen there is a small temple, and it's a tribal temple, and the god is a tiger god. So, and also you see a lot of good trees around it. It is a sacred grove, which is also called Devrai. And people take care of this particular forest since long time. And also you need to understand why tiger is a god, because tiger is a topmost animal in a food chain. And if the tiger is in the forest, then it means your forest is very healthy and the forest can take care of you. So you cannot kill tiger, because if you kill the tiger, then the whole cycle will collapse. And that's why they made the tiger as a god. But also this particular temple has only columns. So if you put a mashal or diya in front of that particular tiger, so and this particular temple is always located on the boundary of the village where the forest starts. So if even if the tiger is unknowingly coming towards the village, he sees that light and fire and he just turn off. So basically, there
So
is a very
basically, it's like
symbiotic association
bol
between
bol.
it's basically a symbiotic association between the jungle and the people. Yeah, you were telling something, Shardul.
And also it's like yeah, so this particular tiger temple is Wagoba temple is the inspiration for the next project. So uh, through things like temples or social buildings, basically what you we inspire is, yes, social gathering, but thinking about biodiversity or animals, or thinking about how an animal would react to a structure is also very important while thinking about design. And if you see, there is nothing in this structure actually. It's like a fully open to everything structure, and it is part of the biodiversity. Just when that diya is to be lit, it needs a roof. That is why there is a roof. But most other things like temples to Dharvatari are basically, they are not even, they don't even light diyas, or they don't have roof also for that. Next slide.
So we got this one project called Sai Baba Temple, and client, like there is a Sai Baba Mandir Trust who wanted to build a quite a big temple. But and there were on the side there were very beautiful, well-grown trees, and they told us that we will cut down those trees and we will build this particular RCC temple. So you just design it. So somehow we try to convince
Yeah, and
client.
all around the site also, all around the site there were a lot of buildings, which made it very dense. So basically, the site is in a small town called Kasa, near our office only, near our Dhanu office. And like I said, it was even though Kasa is a small town, this particular part had buildings all around it. Even the entry to the site was through like a narrow lane, and then you enter into a court kind of a thing. So
Yeah.
yeah, so and in
So
that also
now,
they wanted to build a heavy structure.
yeah. So you see this particular model. In this model, there are white buildings. So these are like that close. So it was not advisable to consume the whole site to build a temple. So somehow we convince the client, that Sai Baba is also a nature lover. So we need to think about the nature and we have to do something with it. So after that, a lot of brainstorming, we came up with the idea that we will build only a Garbhagruha. And then the design of the Garbhagruha started. And we designed this particular Garbhagruha in such a way that the site has a lot of trees and there were a lot of sparrows and birds were there. So the idea was to design a structure like a Deepastambha and provide a shelter for the sparrows in the structure. So over here we also consider, because the sparrows over there contribute a lot in terms of the ecology and uh, and the biodiversity. And that's why we built this particular we designed this particular temple and we started with building it with the brick and mud again. And you see in this particular structure, so after building it this particular structure, you can actually see that there are a lot of holes which we kept purposely, which is the ideal habitat for the sparrows, so sparrows can actually go over there and nestles themselves over there. So in this particular process we also need to understand that we over here, not the only human is using that particular structure, but also there are a lot of surrounding ecology is also maybe we can pull in, so this whole structure will become a holistic part of that particular context. Shardul, you
Also,
want to?
Pratik, can you go back to the model photos?
Yes.
Model photos.
Yeah.
Model photos. So also it was a very cautious decision that they wanted a full temple with the garbhagriha, then uske samne mandap chahiye tha, फिर उसके बाद they needed a hall and all of those things. It took a lot of initial struggle to convince these guys not to build anything but garbhagriha. We actually were not even going to build the garbhagriha and convert that small courtyard kind of a place which had two trees and a lot of buildings around it. It was a natural courtyard kind of a thing and make it into a garden which housed the whatever dying biodiversity was there of Casa, and make a structure itself that can host the biodiversity. So can you go back to the image which shows the niches?
Yes.
ह्याच्या पुढचं. So here they're going to be like the structure is not complete. Like in general, like however temples work, they have when they start building whenever they have the money. So the basic structure got completed. These niches are going to be fitted with those wooden sparrow holes. And also the idea was that the sparrow holes was open inside out. And when you enter the whole place, can you go one slide back, Ori? So when you enter, you see this narrow, tall kind of a structure, and the holes over there are the sparrow holes. So basically, you are, and when you go inside, your voice echoes and reverberates. So even the chirping of the sparrow is basically reverberating through the structure. So that was the idea. We'll only know if the sparrows decide to play a host in this structure only once it's complete. Right now, it is not.
Yeah.
Go next. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, you can continue, Shardul.
Yeah. So I think this we have presented, but I will still talk about it again. In our curriculum or course or whatever, we are taught how we build structures. We are thought where we'll get the resources from. That also sometimes we are thought, yes, we still don't know where our cement comes from, we still don't know where our steel comes from, but chalo theek hai, we know that wood comes from trees, bamboo comes from bamboo plant, and there are some mines where we mine limestone and iron ore for cement, etc. And it is processed in the factory, then ready-made materials are available to us and we build the structure. But this is one part of the story. The other part of the story is when the structure is not used, what happens to it? It doesn't return back to the biodiversity cycles. So this is a linear process. It's a one-way investment. Many times it's a one-way investment, like making plastic, for example. So you cannot disintegrate plastic into its basic elements and give it back to nature. It's like that.
Yeah.
Next.
So if you see any kind of a tribal house, that tribal house is always fits into the nature cycle. For example, you are taking material from the forest, you are building the house, but once the house is decayed, the whole material goes back to the nature again. And I think that this is the beauty of using these locally available materials. So right now, what is happening is, if you see this particular cement bag, then we can easily trust this particular material because it is advertised well to us, and those advertises are bombarded on our head. So also, if you see this particular cement bag, it is written that cement is the engineer's choice, or there is a how much weight of the this particular cement, or what is the strength of this particular. Everything is written, okay, and also it is advertised well, and that's why we can easily trust that this particular material is a pakka material. And also the way they advertise it means it impacts us a lot. But if you see the mud, the we never, it is not standardized material. Like you cannot predict by just looking at mud ki what it is exactly. And that's why we always think this particular one particular material is a kacha material, and we just play holy or whatever that the kids are playing into this particular mud. That is the only thing which we know about it. If you see this particular image, there are, if you see this particular image, then you see that there are burnt bricks, there are cement mortar which is used in it. Also, there are corrugated sheets which is used. So, as per the definition, this entire house is a pakka house uh, uh, because of the materials of it. But if you look at this particular house, the floor is made up of cow dung, the walls are made up of mud, the roof is with the bamboo and thatch. But still, this particular house is not considered as a pakka house, but it is a kacha house because the material which is used for it. But if you look at the compare these two spaces, we can actually understand which space has a better quality, aesthetic value, as well as which space is you feel like living in it. Now if you see this one particular house, this house is belongs to one person who has a lot of goats, and you can actually see that he can easily remove that wall, and he can place that wall anywhere he want, and he can actually change the house layout whenever he want, as many as time he wants. And also when this one particular wall gets decayed, you can easily throw that wall into the farm because it's made up of the reeds, which is the fiber, and as well as the cow dung, which is a good fertilizer. And no other material, no other modern material or synthetic material can allow us to do this kind of a thing. So while doing the Indira Awas Yojana, which is right now Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, so we were like documenting a lot of villages throughout the
Wait.
Maharashtra.
So
Yeah.
you should basically, for those who have not attended the talk that is there before, um Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana is a scheme of the government which gives, the premise of the Yojana is basically where the government has decided that there are poor people in our country and they need houses. So it's one of the oldest yojanas of our country, and what it says is that whoever is below poverty line, at whatever time in history, the below poverty line has been increasing financially, but uh, whatever below poverty line person is there, and if that person has a kacha house, if that person has a house which cannot see the definition of kacha or pakka, actually there are no such terms in the government dictionary, but what it means is that if your house is termed as something that is unsafe by the government, then you are entitled to a better house. Okay, how does the government do that? Is basically it gives you money, 1.5 lakh of rupees, to build a structure. Now, what and how to build that structure and what kind of structure is there, because the government is paying you money, it has a little bit of say in that. Actually, it shouldn't have had that according to the original draft, but then what happens is, for example, for the full state of Maharashtra, the government has come up with this one module which the government uses to build many crores and crores of homes every year. So in India, at every 5-6 kilometers in the district that we work, which is Palghar, in that district only we have like 7-8 different types of architectural modules that exist in the traditional architectural realm. But when you look at Indira Awas Yojana, they are replacing this whole diverse architectural stock, the housing stock that we have, which is relevant. So every architectural typology develops according to the climate context, according to the people, their needs. All of it is being replaced by this one particular module, which the government propagates throughout the state. So we and many other architects felt that that was wrong, and also things like material, for example, if you go to Marathwada, which has one of the lowest availability of water and drought prone. I think this year also there might be drought over there, but when we were documenting this, I think that was 2015, and it was hit by one of the worst drought, and Latur had to be supplied water through trains and stuff like that. So in such regions, if you standardize the technology and say कि cement के घर बनाओ, cement which requires water for curing for minimum of 5 to 7 days, then obviously it's not going to be worth it, right? The image that he showed you before where comparing Kacha and Pakka, the Pakka image is actually from Marathwada. That house was crumbling because that person couldn't afford water to cure it. So the idea here was the government, after almost, this is a yojana of 1974 something, and after almost a huge span of 40 years, they realized, okay, we need to rethink this whole thing. So 5 states of the country were noted for experimentation with the yojana and experimentation with local materials and local glazing and local technologies. For that, we were documenting the whole state. So these current few slides, they will just show you the diversity. So this particular village is a village called Semadoa in Medghat, which is a tiger reserve and a highly biodiverse region. So all these houses, they are aligned one to other in a linear kind of a pattern, and rows of these houses are placed next to each other. In between them there are streets and verandas. Such a planning is done so that if there is any animal, a tiger or whatever comes, you can easily spot that animal and everybody.
Okay. I think there is Shardul. You were disconnected.
Yeah, yeah. Hello, Kabir. Hello.
Yes. 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 You are there.
Walls are also painted with similar color tones. So every Diwali, the whole village paints its wall again. And what happens is when somebody does not follow social rules, that particular person's wall, again this happens in sweat equity. सब लोग सबके घर paint करते हैं. So the whole village will come to my house, paint my house, go to the next house, paint that person's house. And if one person defaults in anything, say he has stolen from somebody, so that particular person's house is not painted on the day. So you know, it's very embarrassing because that particular person's house doesn't get painted. So things like these softer aspects of sociology, softer aspects of linkages with the forest. So all these aspects that houses in our country are linked to are not taken into consideration by the yojana, which is a central yojana for the whole state. So all these homes that are running through your screen are basically homes that are observed in different parts of our country, traditional typologies. And what all of it is being country nahi, ye to state tha, sorry, all of it is replaced is this. It is engineer's drawing, uh, 4 inch 6 inch thick brick wall, one side 150 9 inch thick brick wall, brick footing, which nobody does ever in the state except for the British who did it. And you know, a toilet which these people convert into storages sometimes.
Yeah.
And
And
for example, my village or Pratik's village, the tribals are used to living in 1200, 1400, sometimes 2000 square feet homes, because all of these homes are made from materials which are available for absolutely free in the forest. All of this is replaced by the so-called pakka materials like cement, brick, steel, which they have to buy. And when they have to buy, they have to reduce their house size to what the government says, which is 265 square feet. And if there is, the government doesn't stop them from expanding or building bigger homes. Nowhere in the policy it's written that. But when you have to buy so much of material, you obviously have a limited budget. The house size naturally becomes smaller, and the people are not able to use those small homes from there. Next story.
So now these are the houses. We saw the diversity of the houses. Now from the same region, we are showing you the Indira Awas Yojana houses,
These
and
are
you
the
can
same region house pictures.
yeah, but still you cannot even under identify which region it belongs to.
Yeah.
And this is what
So yeah, each of these homes is like incomplete basically. So you look at this image, the person completed the house matlab roof dal diya, but doesn't have enough money to build the windows. So plastic dal diya uske upar, aisa hai. Very poor construction, and because cement in our country is new, people don't know how to use it still, especially in the rural areas. So the construction style or the construction methodologies are poor. The discipline on site which is required for concrete is not there. So that is why it's not that like we are saying mud is better than concrete or any other material is better than concrete. Even we've used concrete in many places. But what happens is that if you're not accounting for the
huh,
goal to
so after that we started documenting all these houses, and we try to understand what are the locally available technologies are there. For example, if you see this particular house is belongs to the Konkan, so we try to understand what kind of materials are used for this particular construction, what kind of technologies are used, the incrementality which is never thought of while making this Indira Awas Yojana houses. Also, this is from Marathwada, where they may make a brick vault and construct their house, and it filled with the mud. So you can protect your house from the sun. So all these technologies were very important. But the thing is, the junior engineers who actually execute this particular yojana are not, they are not aware of these particular technologies, because maybe because of our education, because our education happens only in two materials, which is cement and steel, and we never thought about these naturally available materials. So we had a lot of sessions with the junior engineers where we try to sensitize them as well for the towards these kind of materials. And now if you see this particular one house, which is made by which is a product of Indira Awas Yojana, where we came up with the process of interacting with the beneficiary. So over here we made a lot of models for them, and we interacted with them what kind of house they want, and what are their what kind of things they want to accommodate in their houses. Also reuse of material. For example, you see there is a lot of timber is lying around, and while executing this yojana, the government never thought about how to reuse all these particular materials. So if you reuse this particular material which is salvaged from the old structure, then you can actually reduce a lot of cost. And this is what we done, like we made a lot of options for this particular one beneficiary. And after through this particular option, he chose one options where he wanted the kind of house he wanted, and go ahead with it. And now you can see the product, like this house is quite big than the previous houses which you saw. It because we use a lot of locally available materials, and we also salvage a lot of material from their old houses, so they can actually build a bigger houses within a given money. Also, the role of for example, plaster mud plaster is very well known for these tribal people, but how to improvise, or maybe how to stabilize with this little bit of lime or cement, where the architect's role come into the picture. And we taught them how this plaster could have been done, when where it can where the maintenance of the plaster get reduced. And this is what the house which they have built. And now if you see, the obviously these colors are not chose by us, but it is a choice of the client or the beneficiary. But they started getting involved a lot. Like in the previous houses, you see those houses were not even plastered, not even colored well. But over here, the beneficiary actually got involved in their houses, and they started painting it. So it means there is an acceptance of that particular house from the beneficiary. Now over here also they use all this mud plaster which is taught by us. And also in this particular house, the beneficiary actually used all the possible color which was available to him, and he has decorated his house in those very vibrant colors. So all these things are very important while executing this whole particular yojana. And if we, as a stakeholder, as a facilitator, if you get involved in this particular process, then that can be a result of this particular housing scheme. Shardul, you want to elaborate anything?
So basically, yes. So basically, the question here was that one is a centralized yojana. It's a target-driven yojana. It's also what happens in such a scenario is when you have to work for such a thing. Our all aim was that first decentralize the process, look at each and every beneficiary and how each and every beneficiary can be their house can be tailor made, and how that process, so the whole thing, the process was very important than the product. So how this whole process of designing participatorily with the beneficiary for the government could be integrated in the government machinery itself. So whatever is the result of the participation, so if you see the images that Pratik showed, some of them you might see that there are AC sheets and stuff like that on the roof, but then it was the decision of the beneficiary. So yes, so every house was tailored, and every project, it was looked upon as a participatory process. I think next.
So this is, now we are talking about our village, which is the last thing now. So in this also you can see that when we were actually in the village, there was little bit of like the first process which we started with to understand village with the villagers, and because we couldn't find what kind of role we can play in this particular village, and we started interacting with the community, with the model and everything, to understand this particular village, and we learn a lot from community first about the village. And this is also one of the method where we as an architect, we know how to make a plans, elevation sections, all these drawings, but how you can actually convince certain things to the villagers, so you need to understand their methodology of making the drawings. So over here we are actually making a map of the village to understand what kind of resources we have, so we can actually go ahead with the sustainable development of the village. And over here the villagers are actually making, drawing their maps, okay, where they are actually understanding their village on a bigger perspective, on a macro level. So this is one of the participatory mapping process which we had with our villagers. With all this brainstorming session with the villagers, we came up with the idea that we will make a self-help group. And Shadul, you can elaborate on the self-help group.
Basically, we are we as an organization are looking at. We started off as a rural development organization, not as an architectural organization. And the whole idea was how to take participatory development to a practical level where every village can look way that it can execute participatory development. So self-help group was the okay. So self-help group was one of the ways that we thought we could do that, which was basically self-help group is basically like how kitty works. Few people come together and decide to save monthly some amount. The savings are then put in a bank, and you can in an account which is a community account, and you can withdraw loans from that account which are without collateral. And it's a financial security scheme kind of a thing.
Yeah.
So
So
it gets the
yeah,
community together, it makes them financially stable, and it helps them establish their own businesses or in next.
yeah.
So this is
So
our self-help group, the first one. After this, there
yeah,
was one more which was Sahyog, which was created in the village.
yeah,
Through the self-help group, initially we had a lot of sessions with them about sensitization towards farming, towards resources, towards how development should begin from resource and then go to architectural development or to development of
yeah,
infrastructure. Before any kind of development, we need to look at a resource centric approach. So basically Rajendra Bhatt sir is a Kushi Bhushan, and he is giving lecture to the whole group about organic farming.
yeah. So
Next.
basically we started conserving our native seeds, And Rajendra Bhatt sir is actually explaining us to your community that how we should go ahead with this particular native farming. After that, we got a rice seed, because rice is a very local and staple in our region. So we also started thinking about how to go ahead with the native seeds, and we collaborated with the BIOF organization, where Sanjay Patil sir, who preserved almost 400 native rice, he gave us certain samples for the experimentation, and our Bachat Group took those samples, and they started propagating the seeds more. And then we started this whole process with the Bachat Gat people, where the whole Bachat Gat was involved actively in the processes. And we really got really good rice. For example, it was so eye pleasing for the community also, because we had rice which has a color black, the red rice, white rice. And they were like so enthusiastic while seeing that particular rice, and they were like just looking at the rice for so many minutes and so many hours and hours. And we can actually look that particular satisfaction in their eyes. So after that, we also try to started thinking that how to take this particular farming initiative ahead. And we came up with the idea to build a cactus compound, because that's the cheapest way of making the compound, and as well as how you can actually it is a living fence. So while and also the idea is to make a compound for everybody's land, so it's a community. So everybody has a small pockets of farmlands, and we made a one particular compound wall for everybody. So it is again sweat equity came into the picture, Shramadan came into the picture. But also for this one particular activity, we need some money. And we are not NGO, and we also believe that if you get something for free, you don't value it. So how we can actually raise that money was the question. And then we came to know that these people has a very good skill with the bamboo. And we started looking at their skills, whatever, for example, they make a very beautiful fishing net with the bamboo. So we understood that particular design as a fishing net. And we started making a architectural stationery out of this particular bamboo products. And this particular initiative fetch lot of money to them to take any kind of initiative in the village. So this is now one of the mainstream activity which is going on in our village, where people are actively involved making this particular architectural stationery, and students are also buying it. And it is we know what kind of love we have for the stationery. So this is also one of the initiative which we started. For example, these are the bamboo pouches which we made, bamboo compost boxes which we made. And also Ritu ma'am was also one of the active she actually who driven us for these particular processes. So after this all these activities, we started thinking that now we have a seeds, we have certain skills, but in the village we need some one part where we can actually have perform this activity together. So
Wait,
this is
hello,
why.
hello. Or you wait.
Yeah.
So you must be like, we get a lot of questions regarding all of this, saying, "Kya, as architects, why are we, farming, or why are we into handicrafts, or why are we all of this?" So it goes back to the first Warli painting image that we showed you, which is basically taking care of the whole context. It is not only about designing the structure, but these tribal farmers, they do only rice as a crop. And when yeah, it is not sustainable anymore. So it is not sustainable financially, ecologically, everything, because of chemical fertilizers. So that is why we decided to go into farming. We also realized that the forest was disappearing. And because the forest is disappearing, the forest is disappearing right now because the tribals don't value it anymore the way they used to. Pehle, everything was dependent on the forest, right from medicine to shelter to clothing to food. Everything came from the forest, and the water also. Now the forest is just a source of firewood. So through the handicraft initiative, actually a lot of what we are looking at is looking at how these small forest produces like bamboo can be uh, revitalized in terms of its use, so that it can be made important in their life, and hence conserved. So that is why also we see a lot of these people plant bamboos. We have initiated bamboo plantations And now next season onwards, we'll also look at other forest products and forest raw materials which we can convert into something that is utilitarian basically. So like you were saying, for all of this to happen, we basically wanted to have like a center kind of a thing where the community could come together, have a discussion about the next initiative. And this is where it used to happen first. This is Pratik's old house. It's a fully wattle and daub structure, and now slowly it is getting converted into a full-fledged seed bank for rice, where the community can store, display, sell, and propagate these traditional seeds. And also, if you see, there is a lot of, there are no walls, not many walls in the structure. It's a huge veranda, and the full veranda is going to be used for community meetings and discussions. So yeah, the cursor is going through that space.
So this
This is also our office, which we are now breaking, making again. Whatnot is happening to it right now. So
this whole initiative, how we started, that we are not dismantling the entire structure, but we are just dismantling the wall, because wattle and daub walls allows you that kind of a flexibility. Like I said, that many people does that in our village. So it was again a big opportunity, and now there are a lot of students who are involved, who are actively coming to our village, and they are actually building those walls along with us. So this is these are the initiative which we already started, and where people are actually making a lot of stuff, like they are working on the battle end of walls. And you can actually see that now in the veranda we are making a small room, where we can actually, it's a pantry basically. And you can see there are a lot of battle end of walls are made. Also we are using a thatch, your ropes, to decorate all these elements. So basically all this, so this is project is right now going on. So even if you guys want to join for this particular initiative, you are always welcome. And we yet this whole project is under construction right now. So yeah, this is what which we want to end our presentation with. And if you want to contact us, you can actually note down our details.